Hello, I'm the Cartoon Gentleman, bringing you organized chaos. And you know, lately I've been going through my files, and near the bottom I discovered a little jewel. A little gem that was lost in the sea of other shows. This gem was Xiaolin Showdown. You know, whatever happened to this show? Not a single person I asked about it says they ever disliked it. On the contrary, most people praise it. What for its awesome setup, action, crisp animation, likable characters, and yet, when discussing great shows, Xiaolin Showdown usually never shows up. Well, you know what? I'm tired of all the bullshit. Today, we are discussing Xiaolin Showdown and why it's so freaking awesome. The story begins long ago where a powerful Shaolin warrior named Dashi fought against an evil witch named Wuya, using powerful items called Shengang Wu, mystical relics, each with their own extraordinary powers and abilities. Then, after a long and grueling fight, Dashi sealed Wuya away inside a magic puzzle box, where she remained dormant for hundreds of years. You see? Epic backstory right off the bat. Just the beginnings of what will be a great start. The story cuts to years later where a young Shaolin warrior in training named Omi is greeted by a group of new trainees, which I don't want to say offensive stereotypes, but the prospect still lingers. More than likely, I would just say it's lazy writing. However, before they actually had any formal training whatsoever, they were sent on a mission to find all the Shengang Wu which were scattered throughout the world, and recover them all before evil forces retrieved them, in order to do what else? Take over the world! Of course, this leads to an obvious question. How do they find all the Shengang Wu, and how are they going to retrieve them? Well, as fate would have it, or again, lazy writing, they happen to have a magical dragon named Dojo, who not only can grow, shrink in size, as well as shapeshift in general, depending on the situation. He also has the ability to sense Shengang Wu whenever one is activated, or is ready to show itself. Convenient, right? Of course, not as convenient as our main villain is. His name is Jack Spicer. Oh, Jack, how does one describe him? He's a combination of an evil genius psychopath with an emo 13-year-old with all the crybaby tendencies in between. He's the perfect comedic villain counterpart with our evil Wuya, who, after Jack released her from her puzzle box, but in her new form, she can't use any of her powers, except for some ghostly powers. You know, basics. But she does have the ability to sense the Shengang Wu as well. So, they're stuck together, whether they like it or not. Of course, when Wuya finds somebody better, she drops Jack like a bag of... Wait! What is it? We're trying to give the reviews a more PG-13 rating. You can't say those words. What? We've never had to worry about those before. It's a new order from the producers. They say, no real bad swearing. But come on! The show was founded on bad humor, and bad taste in humor. Yes, well, they want to change that. I'm sorry. But we're Muppets. Kids watch this show. Well, you know what you could tell those producers? They can suck my Muppet cock! And just like that, you just got yourself a pay cut. But of course, a comedic villain is only as good as his heroes. And as I said before, they're, stereotypical in their archetypes. And racial stereotypes by where they're from. Omi, from the Shaolin Temple, has no concept of the outside world, and is in that awe of everything vibe, you know, that really annoying everything of the outside world intrigues him, and he doesn't understand pop culture references. Good for him. Kimiko, who is from Japan, acts like she's a stereotypical Japanese girl. Raimundo, from Brazil, well, actually, I don't know what the stereotypical Brazilian is. but he is the stereotypical rebel. You know, the bad boy, the oh, I don't have to follow your rules sort of guy. And then there's Clay. Let's be honest, the whole slow-going Texan. Of course, as a native Texan myself, I don't have a problem with his stereotypical accent and his stereotypical behavior. Your accent sucked. I know it did. And as far as comedic villains go, Jack was great. But where are the real villains? You know, the ones that are, like, really bad? I mean, you got Wuya, but we need something more, something extra, something like Chase Young. Talk about wanting to swing for both teams.
And I mean that in a hero versus villain way, not in a gay way. So, don't question it. I ship it. God damn it!
Chase Young is one of the signature baddies of this series. He's as bad, if not worse, than Wuya at full power. But unlike most of the villains, he cares very little for Shangang Wu, only keeping those few that would actually prove a problem for him in particular. Like, there's actually 2 Wus that when combined, can give its wielder infinite knowledge of any given subject, including how to rid the world of evil once and for all. And we all know how bad that would be for him. What he actually is after is for young Omi to become his apprentice of evil, and, by all means that is the word, succeeds. In a very unconventional and confidential way. Well, we've been discussing a lot about the good guys and the bad guys, but how well do they beat the shit out of each other? Well, to be perfectly honest, there isn't that much human versus human action at all. Most of the conflicts in the show are settled with an awesome trippy game called the Xiaolin Showdown. It's where both sides bet on a Shangang Wu, and they play a random game, and the winner takes both Shangang Wu as a prize. Pretty civil actually, but still action-packed enough because you never know what's going to happen. And it's not one of those things where good guys always win either. Sometimes the bad guys win. Even Jack walks away on top every now and again. Well, up till this point, I've been talking nothing but good about Xiaolin Showdown. But it's time to knock it off its pedestal. Here's what's wrong with Xiaolin Showdown. Spring the pain! First of all of our main heroes are tied to one of the elements of the planet, like fire, water, earth, and wind. And we all know that's overused in kids' shows. The main story does move obnoxiously slow, even if it's supposed to be episodic rather than linear. And Omi is one of the most egocentrical, annoying little twerps I've ever come across. Throwing an entire mission when they have it in the bag just to fuel his own self-indulgence. He's like Vegeta. In fact, a lot of elements are similar from the original Dragon Ball. I mean, a bunch of kids searching for mystical elements of ungodly power that can be used to take over the world? There's a heavy lean towards Chinese customs, a Chinese dragon character. Omi himself is an orphan raised by kung fu masters. Comedically over the top and yet threatening villains? Holy hell, I finally figured it out! Why I like Xiaolin Showdown so much. It reminds us all of the original Dragon Ball series. It's so obvious! And any show that reminds me of Dragon Ball is A-okay in my book. So, it's a must-watch for anyone who enjoyed the original Dragon Ball. Now, as you excuse me,
I've got a dragon to summon.
I am the eternal dragon. State your wish and I will grant it.
alright, hear me out, Dragon. I know this is pretty unconventional, but I do have a wish. Whee! Yay! Alright! Fuck you, Whoa, I'm riding Shinra, and certainly fuck you, Yamcha! I'm the cartoon gentleman, and I brought you all organized chaos. Now, as you excuse me, I'm going to dive bomb Namek. Whee!